Good morning.
Good morning.
Today is the 11th of May, Tuesday the 11th of May at 10 o'clock. This is the Weber County Commission meeting. We're here in Great Weber County. We welcome those of you who have joined us in the chamber here and those of you who have joined us online. Glad to have you here. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Ms. Fatima Fernelius. Following Ms. Fernelius, our invocation will be given by Shelley Hallisey. Fatima?
Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to meet here today for the Weber County Commission meeting. We're grateful for the beautiful weather that we have. Please bless us that as we go through this meeting, we are able to be tolerant and that the commissioners are able to lead in a way with integrity. Bless us that as we go throughout our day, we all do so in safety. I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Shelley. Fatima. Our thought for the day will be given by Commissioner Scott Jenkins. Commissioner Jenkins.
These guys love giving me a hard time because about half the time I get here, I don't see this coming. So my thought of the day has to do with Memorial Day coming up. That is right. You know, Memorial Day is kind of a special day. We remember those who've passed away before us and our first responders and veterans who've given the ultimate sacrifice of their lives, and we honor them, and it's actually a special time. When I think back to when I was a kid, everybody out west in the little small community used to plant flowers that we called flags. I don't know what actually kind of flower they are, but they are a flower that comes up early in the spring, and they specifically planted them so that they'd have a flower to go over and put on the graves. This is in the day before you could go to the store and buy mums. Now you go to Walmart and those places, and they'll have tables of mums that you can buy and go put on the graves. But back then they put flags on. And it was always a big deal. When I was a kid, my mom would hustle around the yard and clip all these flowers down and get prepared to go. And then we made a regular procession to all the different graves that we decorated. And it was a pretty big deal. But beyond the actual decorating of the graves, it's important that we remember what our relatives, those who come before us, did for us all, each one of us. I don't know about you guys, but I have very, very fond memories of my grandparents. I was fortunate enough to be an older grandchild, so I actually recreated with my grandparents and knew them very well. And a lot of people don't even know their grandparents. And it was very special of me. So I'm suggesting that we all take a good look at Memorial Day that's coming up and spend some time and get to the graveyards and honor our dead. Thank you.
Thank you. I think they called that back when I was a kid, Decoration Day.
Yeah, Decoration Day.
So very good. Okay, Commissioners, appreciate that, Commissioner Jenkins. Commissioners, with your permission, I'd like to move item E, like echo, public comments, to between after item H and before item I on our agenda towards the end, if that's okay with you. Any questions on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to our item F on our consent agenda, which is the following. A request for approval of warrants 3842 through and including 3864, and 458 572 through and including 458 718, and number 83 in the amount of $609,000 $568.39. Item 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $73,734.42. Item 3 is a request for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on April 20th, 2021. Item 4 is a request for approval of the April ACH payment to U.S. Bank in the amount of $164,452.37. Item 5 is a request for approval of retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Jamie Jakes. Item 6 is a request for approval of an agreement to a contract between Weber County and DCO for professional services agreement for a public relations, marketing, and communication consultant. Item 7 is a request for approval of a commercial lease between Weber County Library and Coffee Connoisseur for cafe in the main library. Item 8 is a request for approval of a commercial lease between Weber County Library and Coffee Connoisseur for cafe in Pleasant Valley Branch Library. Item 9 is a request for the community development, property management for approval to surplus a fellow paper shredder. Item 10 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the U.S. Forest Service for a Weber County Sheriff's Office to assist in law enforcement around Pineview Reservoir and for all Forest Service campgrounds in the area. Item 11 is a request for approval of new business licenses. Item 12 is a request for approval of a utility easement granted to Rocky Mountain Power for the property construction and operation of electrical lines and equipment on the Kiesel Jail property. Commissioners, questions, comments on any of the consent items listed on item F on our agenda today?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a comment on two of those items, if I might.
Commissioner Farrar, go ahead.
So I'd like to start with consent item F as in Frank 6, dealing with the DCO contract. I think it's probably worthy of some explanation, and since part of this I had some oversight on through CARES Act 1, let me just point out, I think for the record, that the DCO team has put in over 1,750 hours, extra hours, working on the COVID-related projects that were needed for this county. And that was needed to reach out to members of the public, our departments. As you remember, much of that time was spent over weekends, early mornings, late evenings, communicating, because we were kind of tossed into the thick as the vaccination process started, and that message with the health department was very important that we communicated through social media, press release, etc. And so I support this amendment, being fully aware that it's our intent with the American Rescue Funds that we will be receiving shortly, that this amendment will be paid for through CARES Act funding under the American Rescue Plan money that we'll be receiving. So just for your information. And
Thank you, Commissioner. You had another item there.
the other item would be F10, dealing with the sheriff's contract. This is an item, this is a contract that's been established with the Sheriff's Department for oversight, enforcement, parking, et cetera, at Pineview. Please be aware that there's ongoing discussions, even as we speak, with the Forest Service in terms of the parking situation, parking problems that we anticipate happening again this summer, and that we have asked the Forest Service for a review of any extra hours that are required by the Sheriff's Department that they reimburse us from the Pineview Forest Service account, so that the Weber County would basically only be held to the hours, obligations under this contract. Any additional services would be required that the Forest Service pay additional fees. So, and we're anticipating that there, and I think it'll come before us in the next 2 or 3 weeks, parking situations, possibly an increase in parking violations will be coming for us. So this may not be the final contract, the Forest Service on with the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Commissioner Jenkins, any comments for you, sir?
You know, I try to study these bills before we get here, but once in a while I see something. On page 6 of this, under Les Olson, we have several small charges, looks like just service and maintenance. But under there is women, infant, and children controlled asset for $7,000. Well, number one, I don't recognize women, infant, children. I don't know what department they're part of. And number two, did we buy a new copier?
So I can comment on that before you go. Women, Infant, and Children is a WIC program under the WEBER Human Services.
So that's under Weber Human Services, huh?
Health Department? Oh, a Health Department.
That's why I questioned that. I do recognize WIC, and that I did, but I didn't recognize, it doesn't, the way they list these, they don't put what department they're under, you know? Anyway, so is that a copier? Do you know, happen to know that?
I'm looking over at our purchasing expert to see if, it looks like he's digging up the details.
Well, the reason I question that is because we got in a contract, Quinn Fowers spearheaded it a little while ago to save us money not only in purchasing but in the operation of these, and I think it's been pretty successful.
Correct, but there were departments that opted out of that program, like the health department, for example. So,
So they opted out, and now they're buying at a higher price.
not necessarily, but
Not necessarily. You notice that? It's like saying, hold on. But you don't ever get the answer, yes or no. So hold on, Jason. I'll expect you to give me an answer later on, okay?
I got you.
But Quinn, I would like your opinion on this because I liked what you did here about a year ago, and it appears to me that this goes right around that program.
Didn't it save us about annually about 30, or through the contract, about 38,000, wasn't it, Quinn?
Yeah. Well, you
Do
know.
you want to make a motion excluding that item?
No, I can approve it. These kind of programs are only successful if you can hold everybody to them. And when these guys decide to run around them, then the success rate goes down on them. And anyway, so go ahead, Lynn.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you, Commissioner. The highlights for this week: purchase orders and warrants. 15 purchase orders totaling $74,000. The largest of these, 22% or $17,000 to the Health Department for vaccines. 21% or $15,000 to the shooting range for HVAC addition. 18% or $13,000 to the library for landscaping and office supplies. 17% or $13,000 IT Commission Chamber sound system update, and 16% or $12,000 to the transfer station for compost colorant and staffing. The largest of the 171 warrants totaling $610,000, 29% or $180,000 road construction on 2550 South. It's paid for by the 1% transportation sales tax. 12% or $73,000 in ramp awards, 11% or $68,000 for dental, disability, and vision insurance, and 11% $64,000 to the jail for food, building maintenance, software maintenance, and all others were less than 10%.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Commissioners, does that bring up any other questions that either of you have?
For me.
Mr. Horn, do you have an answer for us?
Not yet. He asked me to send it to him later, so I'll do it.
Very good, thank you. Commissioners, any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent items F1 through F12.
Have a motion and a second, great. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Now on to our action items today, Commissioners. This is G like golf. Item number 1 is a request for approval of a contract by between Weber County and Broken Heart Rodeo Company for the Kickin' Corona High School Invitational to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center. Mr. Olson, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
So this first contract that I have is between us and Broken Heart. We, last year, when things were kind of shut down, we decided to do the Kickin' Corona Rodeo. It was very successful. It brought in over 280 room nights. We had about almost 600 stalls, 921 entries into that rodeo. So we decided, well, let's try to do it again. It's right in our wheelhouse. We're good at it. And so this contract is between us and the stock contractor. We provide the buildings, a lot of the ancillary stuff and some of the prizes, and he does the other half.
Very good. Commissioners, questions on this? I would like to make a comment. I appreciate, this is a So this is an event, Commissioners, that's produced in-house. It's produced by the county, so the county reaps the reward of this. It's not produced by an outside contractor who could take this show to a Reno or a Denver or another competing facility. It's produced by us, and so it's created by us. The concept's by us. It's something that's really been good for the people of Weber County to mitigate expense out at the Golden Spike. So I'm very much for these type of contracts. This goes along well with the largest rodeo ever held, high school rodeo ever held in the United States, the Icebreaker that was held in April this year. So, or March, April. So Commissioners, I'd entertain a motion for this if there's no question.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve the contract by and between Weber County and the Broken Heart Rodeo Company for the Kickin' Corona High School Invitational to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center.
Motion? Second. Place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 2 is a request for approval of contract by and between Weber County and the Utah State University to hold the 4-H English clinics at the Golden Spike Event Center.
Yeah, and this one just ends up being because of the USU 4-H youth rate that we have. That's why it's in front of you today.
Commissioners, questions? The 4-H, the English are the ones who tuck their pants inside their boots.
I was going to ask you whether this was actually a vocabulary English or a writing,
Yep.
as in
jumpers.
English saddles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're
Inventors.
talking about.
Different type of hat, but they're still great, very wonderful
Good
to
on
watch.
a horse.
They don't have horn on their saddle.
No. Could be problematic.
Yeah, they don't rope.
Yeah, I know.
They don't roll. But they fly. Over jumps. Yeah, it's great.
Good riders.
Uh-huh. Is there a motion to approve or a question?
I just wait and see what Gage is going to do.
I'd move to approve.
Great.
Second.
And a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Holston.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Item number 3, Commissioners, is a discussion and action on a request for final approval of Taylor Landing Phase 1A, a cluster subdivision consisting of 28 lots, including acceptance of publicly dedicated right-of-way, acceptance of an open space conservation easement, approval of a development improvement easement agreement, and approval of a pioneering agreement. Mr. Perks, Scott Perks, go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm gonna throw the plat up here so everybody can see this project.
If you'll make sure when you speak, Mr. Perks, you speak into the mic so people online can hear you.
Okay, that should be there. Okay, Commissioners, so before you, this is the first phase. It's Phase 1A of Taylor Landing, a cluster subdivision out in western Weber, located at approximately 4,000 west and 2,200 south. This is the first phase of 5 total phases planned for this subdivision. Consists of 28 lots, and each of these lots has been clustered together to allow for open space to be dedicated. The applicant is dedicating a total of 12.81 acres of open space, and that open space is for both phases 1A and 1B. They're not platting the lots for 1B right now, as they're working out some right-of-way acquisition for those lots to have full frontage on a publicly dedicated road. But for this time, they will go ahead and dedicate the full open space for that first full Phase 1. This project has gone through preliminary and final approval through the planning commissions, and since that time, late summer of last year, they've been working with engineering to get their improvement plans approved, and also on a sewer lift station that is designed to service the full project, so all 5 phases, in addition to several hundred additional units in the region. So we've worked through that process and the engineering and the improvements. One caveat to this approval, Commissioners, on the agenda, it does indicate that we'd like to have the improvement agreement as well as a pioneering agreement approved as part of this agenda item. However, we have been waiting for Zion's Public Finance to get us some information back on whether or not we can elevate the sewer impact fees to cover the cost of this lift station. We did get results back this morning from them, and so we'd like to pull that off of the agenda for consideration. We'll bring that back to you for future consideration at potentially next week's work session. But for now, we'd like to have the Phase 1A plat as well as the improvement agreement, which includes escrowed funds for $2.4 million and change, to be approved. We have not yet received those escrowed funds. They are in the process of being wired over in the next day or two. So we would like to caveat this approval that those funds be received before anything is signed and recorded. Do you guys have any questions on this project?
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Perks,
I have one question, Mr. Chair.
please?
So just clarification, is this the subdivision that there were some issues on the open space and whether that was considered ground that was suitable for farming? And has that issue been resolved?
It has been, yep. So as you recall, that the Planning Commission did raise that concern and initially recommended denial of this project, but that was overturned in appeal through the commission, and then there was some litigation that has been resolved at this point.
So the litigation is through, so,
That's correct.
okay, thank you.
Now, so does the Planning Commission now have a favorable recommendation regarding this?
So when we went back for final approval of phases 1A and 2, they did give final approval on both of those phases.
Final, I know they gave final, so they did give approval. Okay, great,
That's right.
thanks. Mr. Jenkins?
Well, the question I have is when litigation was going, you said it's been resolved. How was it resolved?
To my understanding, there was a settlement agreement between the appellant and the applicant of this subdivision. There have been some concessions made, and we believe that there will be some park space dedicated as part of a future open space phase.
You know, I met with planning the other day. We were talking about park space. You know, in most cities, if you have a large lot subdivision, not a small lot, but a large lot, you're required to put some space aside for parks. Well, the county's ordinances don't require that. And so we've got a fair amount of development going out west with no master plan for any parks or no. And you know, you don't really master plan parks because it kind of comes, the subdivision comes. But you accept them and you work them and you operate them. And we have no provisions to do any of that. So that's something we probably need to look at in the future.
As we prepare for our planning and going forward in our
So
master.
next time we meet, we probably ought to talk in one of our next planning sessions about that, Mr. Chair, because parks is becoming an issue, and as they grow out there, frankly, these folks have really enjoyed their parks. The ones in Reese got a really nice park out there, and they're excited about it. And we actually have a park district in West Weber, but they don't have a single park in the district, not one. So we really need to look at that. This is one of the reasons they don't have a park. So I'm telling you, I think we need to check into that.
Well noted. Staff, if you'll. Great. Comments, Commissioner Frohr?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Great. If there's no other comments, would the applicant, is he here, Scott?
I'm not sure if I saw them come in. They may be on Zoom. If they have questions, I'm sure they're on Zoom.
Shelley? Very good. Hearing none then, Commissioners, would you like to, either of you like to make a motion?
So, Scott, what is it you're asking us to approve then today?
So we'd like to pull off the pioneering agreement,
Uh-huh.
and then we would like to condition approval upon them posting the escrowed funds for the improvement agreement.
So moved.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Perks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Our next request, Commissioners, item 4 on our agenda. This is a request for final approval of Cherokee Village Phase 1, a PRUD subdivision consisting of 36 residential lots, LVT 10, 19, 17. Our presenter today would be Mr. Steve Burton. Mr. Burton, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. On there. Can you see that on your screen okay?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
There we go.
Cool. So this development, as you're probably aware, has been a long time coming. This is the first phase of what is called Cherokee Village, PRUD. The name has been changed to the barn at Cherokee Farms. Still the same lot layout, still the same amount of open space and lots. Just to give you a little bit of background on this, I'll kind of give you the development history here. So the proposal for a conditional use permit for a PRUD was recommended for approval by the Western Weber Planning Commission on March 14th in 2017. The conditional use permit received approval from the County Commission on April 11th, 2017. The applicant submitted a preliminary subdivision application on October 19th, 2017. That proposal received a preliminary approval from the Planning Commission on December 12th, 2017. And then it received a recommendation for final approval from the Planning Commission on May 14th, 2019. So here we are 2 years later. The developer's been working really closely with the planning and engineering and surveying department to get to this point for phase one. This is the final processes for the commission to approve that, as well as the improvement guarantee agreement. So this is what you're seeing here is the overall development plan. I'll show you now what phase one is. You'll notice the north arrow is pointing to the right there. So this is on the far east side of the development. This first phase is 36 lots with some open space, as you can see there, for an assisted living center and a park. The amount that the developer has given the county for the remaining improvements to be installed is $1,331,610.28. We have the county reviewers have approved this project and are all comfortable with it moving forward. There was a question of culinary water being approved. The developer has provided us an agreement with Taylor West Weber that explains how secondary water will be provided. It'll be through Weber Basin. So that will take care of Taylor West Weber, their concern of not using their culinary water for secondary purposes. We as staff are recommending that you as a commission approve this based on that the fact that it meets all of our ordinances and meets all of the previous conditions. We would like to put one condition on there, though, and I'll explain that. But the one condition is if a UDOT right-of-way is used for secondary water purposes, that required approvals be granted prior to any building permits being issued. We want to make sure that UDOT has the permits that they need if the developer intends on using their right-of-way for secondary water. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Questions for Mr. Burton, commissioners? Commissioner Jenkins, this is in your portfolio. Any comments?
The question I'd have is why do you put that provision in there? If they're going to use the UDOT right away, they got to get a permit from UDOT to use it.
It's mostly just for clarity so the developer understands, so it's on the record that we looked at that.
All right.
And that they're aware that they're not taken by surprise if UDOT.
I don't know if this is too big a deal.
Mr. Farrar, any comments, questions?
No, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion from either of you.
I'd make that motion that we approve the barn at Cherokee Farms #1.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is a request for approval of a final reading to update to clarify campaign finance reporting for county and school board candidates. This is an ordinance. It'll be ordinance number 13. Our presenter today is one of the greatest election directors in the country, Ryan Cowley.
It's quite the introduction.
That's accurate.
All right.
Mr. Chair, can we get the lights back on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fatima, thanks.
There we go. Now we can see you.
Uh-oh. So you have before you for the second reading, the campaign finance ordinance. This is the same one that was presented last week. We haven't made any changes to that. It's also been discussed in a work session. So my question is just really, do you have any questions that I can address?
Questions for Mr. Cowley?
Not for me.
All right.
Same as last week, right?
Yep, same as last week.
Okay.
No changes to it.
This is an ordinance, Commissioners. Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
What's our ordinance number?
13.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve ordinance number 13, which would update and clarify the campaign finance reporting for the county and school board candidates.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Fatima?
Commissioner Faur,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins. Chair Harvey.
Aye, motion carries, Mr. Kelly. Thank you for your work on this. Appreciate you. Just another thing to keep us right in the lead.
Thank you.
Commissioners, as we move on to item H, like hotel, item number 1 is a request for a motion to adjourn our public meeting and convene a public hearing.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 2 is a public hearing to consider and take action on a request to vacate 5 feet of a 10-foot public easement, utility easement, located along parcel D6, Summit Eden Phase 1D, Amendment EV 2021-5. Our presenter today is Mr. Steve Burton. Mr. Burton, go ahead.
Yes, Commissioners. I think I was here last week talking about a separate easement vacation, but this one is a little bit different. So as you probably noticed, this is one of the Powder Mountain parcels that was platted just a few years ago. And as you can see, let me actually show you the location. It's all the way up there.
Go back to that other picture and then move your mouse over where it is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So you see the red surrounding
now.
this lot?
Very good, thank you.
It's planned to have a mixed-use development there. There's been a request. You can see I've highlighted the 10-foot utility easement that runs along the front property line here. There's been a request to vacate 5 feet of it because 10 isn't necessary, and the front setback in this zone is 5 feet. So there isn't really a need to have full 10 feet. And the developer would like to have some more room to put a building there. And so we have sent out notice and have posted notice. Under the state laws, you as a commission may adopt an ordinance granting a petition to vacate some or all of a public street, right-of-way, or easement if you find that A, good cause exists for the vacation, and B, the public interest or any person will not be materially injured by the proposed vacation. Our county reviewers have looked at this and do not have any concerns with vacating 5 feet. There still will be a 5-foot utility easement there. We're recommending approval. We're recommending that you approve the ordinance based on the findings that are in your staff report.
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Burton regarding this public utility easement and the reduction from 5 to 10, or from 10 to 5 feet?
Not for me.
Great. Thank you. Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Burton.
Thanks.
Item number 2 is a public hearing to consider and take action on a request for approval of an ordinance of the County Commissioners of Weber County to vacate a portion of Old Snow Basin Road, located approximately 6213 Old Snow Basin Road in Huntsville. Tammy Adelot.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning,
Bear with me
Tammy.
for just a moment here.
Thank you.
This is a request to vacate a portion of Old Snow Basin Road. I'm not sure if you recall that late last year.
There we go.
We had sections of this curve that were vacated. Let me just orient you a little bit here.
It's on that hairpin, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So the request is to vacate a portion of this area, still leaving this continued 96 total feet for snow storage. So you've got a 66-foot wide right-of-way, and then an additional 63 feet along here for snow storage. The applicant is requesting to vacate this portion so they can add it to their proposed development off of Snow Basin Road. Do you have any questions for me? This area, by the way, that they're looking to vacate is about 40,000 square feet.
Well, Tammy, may I, Mr.
Please.
Chair?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Go back to that picture.
Yeah.
You just said it. The purpose of this was for snow storage. Where are they going to put the snow now?
Oh, okay. So if you look along here, this parcel boundary actually used to run all along here. This area has been vacated to adjacent property owners, leaving this stem here, as you can see. This is the area that would continue to store snow. So they're not looking to vacate that entire parcel. Let me scroll down to the vacation plat that was submitted so you can get a better idea here. So if you look around here, this area will remain for snow storage. This is the section that is requesting to be vacated. Does that help?
Just snow, when you push snow up there, it becomes a major problem where you put it. And we've got roads up there that the homes are within 10 feet of the front, and we have no room to put the snow, literally no room. And it's just a headache beyond belief. And I just want to protect as much of that as we can.
Sure.
So you think the amount that's left is enough for, when you look at the amount that's left here on this drawing, can you, I guess it says there what the width is. I can't.
60.
63 feet. The county engineers.
Yeah, but that's 60 feet from the center of the road.
That's actually 63 feet. Yes, it is, from the center line of the road. The county engineers have approved this previously, and they've approved this as well. We do have county engineers here if you have any questions for them.
I'd love to talk a little bit about it. Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, Tammy.
You're good.
Yeah, so we did actually reach out, chat with our roads department, talk with them. There was, there's always concern. Really, how good your crystal ball is kind of the question, right? But as we looked at that, talked about how it's used, how it's plowed, how it's stored currently, we felt in cooperation and talking with the roads department that what we're left with provides us enough adequate storage to deal with potential storms that we might see.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment or a question if I might one.
Please, go ahead, Commissioner Farrar.
So, Gary, it was my understanding, we vacated the section that's to the east of this parcel that's already been done. And when we were looking at that vacation, we looked at the history, and it was my understanding at that point in time, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this extra space that we're now vacating was created for an overlook area at some point, not necessarily for snow removal, because the snow removal on other parts is the same width. So this is really an area that was felt that we're probably never going to create an overlook there for people to stop and take a view, and it was better to be in private hands versus public.
You're correct, Commissioner. That was the initial intent. As that overlook was discussed at that point, it was felt that it probably would never happen. The reason part of this was kept was because the natural nature of how snow is pushed. When you turn a corner like this, it kind of empties the plow, so to speak, and sheds most of that snow that's being pushed by the plow off to the side right there. That's why we kind of felt that what we've got remaining would accommodate what they would do, how they would operate and maintain the road and keep it clear.
And I agree with that. I think if you look at the topography up there, which I have, is that it doesn't make any sense for anybody to build close to that road. On the lower section, they'll build off of the road across from the access into the subdivision. And I believe that Mr. Lewis is planning on this for an access into his subdivision, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So,
I think that's the intent. That was where the request came from.
That's what I'd heard. Okay, thank you.
You bet. Any other questions for me, Commissioners? Okay.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for Ms. Adelot? Hearing none, we'll now move to item number 4 on our public hearing agenda, which are public comments pertaining to H2 or H3. Anyone online, Shelley? Anyone in the? Hearing none, we'll now close public comments, and we go to item number 5, which is a request for a motion to adjourn a public hearing and reconvene a public meeting. I'll entertain a motion now, Commissioners.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're now back into a public meeting. To take action now on the public hearing, if we go over to page 3 on our agenda, Commissioners, it'll be a roll call vote for ordinance number 14. The first one, H2, is a request to vacate 5 feet of a 10-foot public utility easement located along parcel D6, Summit Eden Phase 1D amendment. We have a motion, ordinance number 14.
Second.
And a second. Fatima?
Commissioner Faur,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins, Chair Harvey.
Aye, motion carries. Item number H3 is listed on the agenda, is a request for approval of an ordinance by and between Weber County and Weber to vacate a portion of Old Snow Basin Road located at approximately 6213 Old Snow Basin Road in Huntsville, ordinance number 15.
So moved.
Great. Fatima?
Commissioner Faur,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins, Chair Harvey.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Very good. We'll now move on to item number I. As promised, we'll now entertain our public comments. Item E, like echo, to put in there. Do we have anybody online that would like to comment? Anyone in the gallery like to comment? State your name and your city, please.
I'm Jennifer.
You have to wait till you get to the mic, Jennifer. Thanks.
Yeah.
We want the people
I'm just-
online to be able to hear.
I'm just rearing to go. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
First of all, I just want to say thank you to all 3 of you. I've been watching you now for the past 3-4 weeks, and I'm really delighted with the work that you're doing in our county. I have been able to attend the WCOG meeting and get more information about that, and my understanding of it is much more clearer, and I look forward to seeing more of what you're doing as far as that council goes. But something I want to address to all 3 of you this morning, and to you, Mr. Faur, in particular, is that I'm deeply disturbed by this support of getting these vaccines and for COVID. And I'm going to illustrate or enumerate for you what my concerns are. First of all, there's no informed consent with promoting these vaccines. Now, it's not very well known that the authorization for the use of these vaccines took place under an emergency executive order, okay? And what that means is that it's still in the experimental phase, which means there's absolutely no recourse for anybody that has an adverse reaction to the vaccine. So what does that actually look like? That means that anybody who gets the vaccine and then maybe has a stroke as a result, or has a miscarriage as a result, or has the development of any blood clots, which, by the way, I just did experience this within the last 2 weeks. It was a basketball player on one of the high schools for North Ogden who developed a blood clot after getting the first jab. So I have somebody in my family just in this last week who also had a stroke after getting the jab, who was in perfectly good health. Okay, so these things are really disconcerting. So when these things take place as a result, and maybe it's a bit of a leap to take, but we're getting more information all the time about these connections between the adverse reactions related to the vaccine. And so when these things happen, insurance companies do not want to pay for the bills, okay, because it's it's still in the experimental phase of the vaccine. So that's deeply concerning. Also, there's a lot of concern also with the fact that there are remedies available to treat COVID that are not part of the mainstream dialogue, what we call therapeutics. And these are certainly things that the pharmaceutical companies do not want people to know about. And there's plenty of data to back that up, and it's been provided to you in the handouts that we've given. So for you, Mr. Faur, I just want to reaffirm my deep desire for you to be a voice for people to exercise their right to choose. That's why we have free agency, and we're sovereign beings, and we can decide what's right for us. And I do also want you to push back very hard when you are on the Board of Health as an elected official representing all of us and our rights, that you push back on their agenda, because what I have seen is that the pharmaceutical companies have come against any kind of medical professional that has any dissent from their agenda. And that's...
Please wrap up.
Okay, I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I do want to work with you more on this topic. It's something I'm passionate about, and I know that you're here to be of service to the people. I know that you take that very seriously in your heart and in your mind, but I do want to work with you on this issue.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any others? None being heard, great. We'll move to item number I, Commissioner comments. I, India. Commissioner Jenkins? Commissioner Frohr?
Yeah, I might just make a mention, a comment based upon our member of the public, and I appreciate the public being here and expressing their concerns. Obviously, we take that and view that as something that's very important to our process. I would just encourage you to attend the Board of Health meetings. They're either Zoomed or I understand that probably in June we'll be going live. Is that right, Chris? With the June Board of Health meeting?
I believe that we were going to resume the in-person meetings, have an anchor location. They may still have an option for people to attend Zoom like we do with commission meetings, but yes.
Anyway, I would just encourage you to attend those meetings, have your voice heard again. There's a public comment there as well, and that would be a great venue for you to express your concerns. But I do take your input seriously and encourage you to be involved. Thank you.
Commissioners, I've got a couple things I'd like to mention. Just for public's knowledge, today at 2 o'clock, we're going to hold a State of the County, but it's going to be a little bit different. Our State of the County will be held with our entire staff, or an entire staff meeting. It's closed to the public. First time it's ever been done in Weber County. We'll be broadcasting it over a link, an email link that's provided by our IT manager. And Quinn, you've done a wonderful job, as well as I want to also thank Gary Griffith at the Conference Center. The commissioners will be live, and every department in Weber County has prepared a video that explains what the county does, or what their portion of the county does, and why they do it. But more importantly, it basically says what this county is, and where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are. So we encourage all employees to look at that today at 2 o'clock. The whole meeting will be able to be viewed on YouTube after, as soon as the employees hear the information first. And our employees, we love our employees, and they should hear the information first. After the employees hear it, then the public will be able to go to YouTube and go to Weber County. Quinn, where will they go to Weber County to see that? What, Weber County YouTube channel?
Sorry?
Weber County YouTube channel to view the production after once it's done. It'll be available around 4 or 5 o'clock tonight, and it'll be available, and it'll live forever. So everything, and it'll be recorded with the commissioners live. There'll be nothing hidden there. It'll be in full transparency. And we did it that way so that you could see how we interact if you don't see a commission meeting, but how we interact together. I plan on doing some laughing just because of the personalities of these gentlemen, but it's going to be a wonderful thing. So it'll be kind of an all-employee State of the County, not given by just one man or one body, the commissioners, but by being told by everyone who's been involved in making this county great. So we really appreciate that. Commissioners, before we close, our next item is a roll call vote. It's a request for a motion to go to a closed session to discuss the purchase, exchange, or a lease of real property, including any form of property right or water shares. I'll entertain a motion for item number J, Juliet.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, Fatima.
Commissioner Frohr?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Chair Harvey?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. We're now adjourned in this meeting to go to a closed session. Thank you.